All right, guys. Today is Thursday. We have some economic data releasing today. Today we have GDP data, we have jobless claims, unemployment, and then we have PCE inflation data at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Energy Secretary Wright saying the U.S. will not offer security guarantees in Venezuela. Wright also said that the U.S. military invading Greenland was never on the table. He's going to go to Venezuela in the next few years, he says, but that the U.S. will not offer security guarantees there. President also spoke a little bit earlier, saying a piece of the Golden Dome will be on Greenland. In an FBN interview, he said, "Will be total access, no time limit." We also had Procter & Gamble release earnings today. They released 188 EPS versus 186 expected. Net sales of 22.21 billion. They expected 22.32 billion, so a little bit of a miss in terms of like revenue or sales here. Procter & Gamble PG, it is down on this. It's at 142.75 right now this morning. And yeah, yesterday was an interesting day. But today markets are kind of back risk on. Most things are up. If you take a look at it, NASDAQ is green, SPY is green. A lot of stuff had really green days yesterday. Apple, green, Amazon, green, Alphabet, green, Nvidia, green, AMD, green. So again, markets are kind of back risk on. Gold and silver are slightly down a little bit, but they did bounce. Actually, I think these are kind of green on the day total. You can see the 23rd or 22nd. Hold on, let me look. Yeah, so you can see Thursday started right here. So it looks like we're up a little bit on gold. Silver is slightly green as well. So markets are mostly up today. We had some news come out. Again, yesterday at Davos, the president claimed a, quote, framework for a future agreement on Greenland with NATO leadership and announced he is retracting the threatened tariffs on 8 European allies, pausing the immediate trade war risk, but leaving tensions still kind of elevated just from the threat of the tariffs. Europe has suspended work on some U.S. trade measures, but is still signaling skepticism, so markets view this as a truce rather than a final peace. Again, modestly green market today. No big deadline for the tariffs is making people more optimistic. We're not invading Greenland as well, making people more optimistic. That was the big story yesterday, is that now we are probably not invading Greenland. At least, we might try to buy parts of it or whatever, but we're not going to invade and take it by force, is essentially what he said yesterday. Bitcoin, again, if you take a look at it, it's just under 90,000. Back up though, it was at low 80s, not low 80s, but it was all the way down to 87s a few days ago. It's been basically sideways since. I think a lot of markets are waiting for today's data. Again, today at 8:30 we have GDP data and jobless claims. So we have old and new data today. New jobs data, old GDP data from Q3, still relevant for markets though. The president is now currently meeting with Zelensky also right now. It just started. But yeah, that's what we got today. Jobless claims, unemployment, GDP data at 8:30. At 10 a.m. we have PCE inflation data going live. Let me catch up on the chat here. Hey, what's up, Todd, Farmer, Jonathan, Nelly, VA, Steve, Brian, Sergio, Ray, Bam, Samuel, me, VO, Ty. The AI sentiment shift is wild. Happened more quickly than expected. What are you talking about? The AI sentiment shift? Are you talking about how it was kind of bearish like a month or two ago, after, especially with Burry and everybody talking about it, and then it kind of pivoted back to bull? Or are you talking about the last few days where we had Intel earnings yesterday at the bell, I believe, right? Or was that today? Intel ran up yesterday big too. We kind of shifted back to a more risk on mindset here. If we take a look at yields, Again, yesterday yields were almost at 4.3%. They have since come down on a little bit of easing worries. If you look at yields right now, they're at about 4.24%. So they're under 4.25%. Yesterday they were almost at 4.3%. But yields have calmed down a little bit. Still elevated this week though. Last week they were definitely lower than they are now, but they're still elevated this week. But still, they have dropped since yesterday. I think the Davos meeting, a lot of people were worried about it. It ended up helping the market more than anything and making the market go up. But once he said we're not going to take Greenland by force, essentially, and that he's canceling the tariffs on the European countries that he announced earlier in the week. So that's ultimately helping markets. And again, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. Jerome Powell hadn't done a speech in a while. I'm curious to see when he's going to start speaking again. It's been like a couple months. I mean, we got the FOMC meeting next week. So, I mean, on Wednesday. And not just that. Like, we got the FOMC meeting next week. But we also have, on the same day, I believe it's like Meta, Microsoft. Let me see the earnings that come out same day. It's like Meta, Microsoft. We got ASML that morning, GE, AT&T, General Dynamics, Starbucks, Progressive, Danaher, and more. And then in the afternoon, on the Fed meeting day, we have Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, all the same day, which is strange. That's strange. They're all coming out the same day. We'll cover the release. They're all dropping basically at the same time at 4:05 p.m. Microsoft might release at 4 o'clock. Meta's coming out at 4:05. Tesla's coming out at 4:05. All on the same day. And this is next Wednesday, January 28th. 4:05 p.m. is going to be chaos because we're going to have 3 Mag 7 stocks release earnings at the same time, which is very odd. Usually they separate them. This time, for whatever reason, they're consolidating them. Honestly, I'm okay with it. Yeah, this ice storm set to come this weekend. They say it's supposed to get really bad Saturday. Sunday, there might be some ice on the roads, but they say it's supposed to get really bad Saturday. And so y'all just be careful. Everybody be safe. I'm from Louisiana. I live in Texas. Nobody knows how to drive in ice here, unfortunately. So it's chaotic. Everybody just be safe. Yeah, and today, honestly, markets are pretty flat, pretty stagnant. They're not really doing anything, at least for the last few hours. I mean, we're green on the day, technically. You can see the day opened up about right here on the NQ. And so we're definitely green on the day, but over the last 2-3 hours, market's just kind of quiet. Maybe a slight downtrend in markets as we speak, leading into the economic reports in about an hour or so. I'll put a timer up once we get about an hour out of it. But yeah, that's basically where we're at now. Yeah, Louisiana's nice. I like Louisiana. But I live in Texas. But it's a fun day today, guys. It really is. We'll see what we get today. Again, we got economic reports releasing. Earnings came out this morning. Again, so far this morning we had GE, Procter & Gamble, Freeport, McCormick, ACM Research, and more. GE ended up beating EPS. They came in at 157. They expected 144. The price of about 9%. Their reported revenue came in at 12.72. They expected 11.2 or so. So they beat EPS in revenue for GE. And they're kind of flat from this. They went up originally and now they're back down some. So we'll see what happens with GE this morning. But GE reported, Procter & Gamble reported, although PG missed revenue, they are down as well. They're at 143s. Again, I'm looking at Netflix. Back up a lot today. Good thing I added some to these positions. But Yeah, all good. Ice, baby. Yeah, we're ready. It's coming. Get Netflix at 85.45. So it's slightly green. Alphabet has been really running here if you look at it. Again, here's Bitcoin, but look at Alphabet. 335s. If you look at like a 4-hour chart, you can see how strong it's been. Alphabet percentage-wise, just in the last 3 months here, gone up a huge percentage. It's gone up from 250 to 330, 340. That's a very large percentage for Alphabet just in 3 months or so. But they're up big. See if all this holds. Again, the Nasdaq has been pretty stagnant. I might look at 25.7s, but I'm curious to see if we run. Again, a lot of people are more optimistic. Again, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Yeah, so essentially, though, NATO is seeing growing Russia-China collaboration in the Arctic. One or more concerning things in the Arctic has been increased cooperation between China and Russia, according to NATO's top commander. He said no planning yet on potential Arctic mission. Do a poll here. Yeah, natural gas, just with the ice coming out, has been wild. Natural gas up to almost $6, 540s right now for natural gas futures. That's a wild move up. And again, this is mostly driven by the cold weather coming in. People need to use their heaters more when the weather's cold, and so better for natural gas, more demand. And so natural gas has been elevated for a week or two now since they've known this ice storm was coming across the U.S. But again, yeah, natty gas futures up big. What's up, Sam? Coffee, MJ, World, Lee, Todd, Demetrius, Lost, everybody else, Freddie. Yeah, so again, GDP data and jobless claims data 8:30, PCE inflation data later is what this is. So we got GDP jobless claims 8:30 in about an hour. We'll put a timer up right now. And then we got PCE inflation data going live at 10 a.m. today. Is what the schedule is for now. Oh, we will see what we get here. This timer's kind of strange, though. I typed in GDP and jobless claims, and it just says GDP data. That's weird. I have to copy this again and see if it works now. All right, we're gonna have to do another one then. Here, dude. All right, we're gonna have to like reset this. All right, but yeah, look at the Nasdaq fall. Nasdaq at 675 right now. Again, PCE for October and November are due at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, analysts expecting both October and November's headline PCE to rise 0.2% month over month. The core rate is expected to rise 0.1%. Bureau of Economic Analysis said U.S. personal income and outlays for October and November, including PCE, which again is the Fed's preferred inflation metric, will be released today. It was unable to provide normal monthly PCE inflation data during the shutdown because of missing data sources, but they're going to give us October and November today using CPI averages, they say. And so it's relevant. October and November PCE inflation data today. figure this out. Let me see, we got 57. Yeah, the only thing it'll give me is this, basically. So we'll just leave this up, I guess, with GDP data. Gotcha. Hold on. Let me check. Again, Nasdaq still bouncing at that 200 exponential here. Again, natty gas that big. Yeah, sorry, Pawn. Here, I'll message you, bro. All right, Nasdaq is starting to climb back higher here. I'm trying to see if we have any justifiable reason for this. We did have the ECB minutes report come out, and we do have NATO commander saying NATO is constantly looking at it in ways to enhance posture in the Arctic. I'm not sure. We'll try to trade some today. I mean, again, gold, silver up. Nvidia here. Green as well, back up to 185s. It was under 180s for a little while yesterday for Nvidia and others. So again, GDP and PCE inflation data going live soon. All right, so the ECB minutes report came out and said that the view was expressed that the economic recovery remained fragile. It was also expressed that maintaining interest rates at their current level represented a fairly solid path under the baseline outlook. Some members viewed inflation risks as tilted to the downside. It was important for the governing council to maintain full optionality in either direction for future meetings, they say. Widespread concern was expressed regarding financial stability, and it was important to monitor whether services inflation and wage growth decelerated as expected, according to the ECB, which is the European Central Bank. It says most viewed the surrounding inflation outlook as two-sided. Some members judged the distribution of risks had shifted up, according to them. Let's do a poll here. I don't think I've done a poll today. Are you bullish or bearish on today's economic reports? And again, this includes GDP, jobless claims, PCE inflation. Bull or bear on these reports today, guys. We'll see if they help the market or hurt it. We do have, again, the ECB report did come out. It's not the biggest thing that's going to move markets. Again, Nasdaq's kind of quiet right now waiting for these economic reports. We do have about an hour until a lot of these release here. And then we have the Japanese rate decision. So, yeah, the Bank of Japan does their monetary policy report. They're expected keep rates steady, it looks like, at 0.75% is what it's looking like. Expected to keep rates steady at 0.75. All right, looking at our poll, 60% so far out of the votes initially are bullish. 40% are bearish. Honestly, the person that needs to stand up straight is me. My posture is terrible. Yeah, my posture is just bad. And so again, let me know, guys. Do you guys think will PCE come in high or low? Put high or low in chat right now. Does PCE inflation come in high or low? I'm curious what you guys think. High or low inflation today? I mean, inflation has been lower than expected, but a lot of people are also going to argue that the data that we've had recently isn't the most accurate. Higher, low, 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 low. We're getting October and November PCE inflation data today too, so it's not just one, it's 2 different months of PCE inflation. Looks like most people expect lower data here. If they're using it with CPI, we also got low data recently, so maybe we'll get low PCE inflation as well. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll get low inflation, I don't know. I agree with the neutral notion. Yeah, I mean, look, so PCE inflation today, and again, it comes out for both months, I think October and November, if I'm correct about this. Let me make sure. I'm going to check the Bureau of Economic Analysis website. I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing, though, is releasing. Yeah, so it's both days today. So at 10 a.m. today is when it is. If you look at the schedule here, at 10 o'clock today. Wait. Okay, yeah. Here's the quarterly numbers. At 10 a.m. today, they are going to be releasing October and November PCE inflation for both October and November. I think they're expecting 0.1% for core, 0.2% for headline. Month over month, but that could change. They're using CPI data. I think they're also expecting 2.7, at least for November. They're expecting 2.8 is what they're expecting for core PCE inflation. Headline PCE, they're expecting at 2.8 and 0.2% as well. So they're both expecting basically the same thing at 0.2 and 2.8%. I also heard 0.1% for core, but that's all right. If the data matches what we want, it's accurate. If not, it's inaccurate. Yeah, I mean, you guys know me. And I say this with both different sides. Nobody screams manipulation more than somebody that's really wrong about a prediction. You know, those people are those who scream manipulation the most. Like if I'm like, hey, this stock is going to hit $100 a share by next week. And then by the next week, it's down 30% at $60 a share or something. I might say it would have, but for manipulation stopped it. Again, so maybe maybe the data is inaccurate. I don't know if it's manipulation or just inaccurate data. I don't know. But maybe not though. We'll see what the data looks like. All we can do is digest the data we get, and we'll figure it out later. Maybe they'll revise it later. I don't know. Again, looking at our poll, 66% think this data is bullish today. 34% think it's bearish. We got like 45 minutes or 50 minutes really until this data releases. So still looking at market news coming out here. The president just spoke about Greenland again. He said, quote, "I am not going to pay anything for Greenland," end quote. I'm not going to pay anything for Greenland. Markets are still very stagnant, very quiet leading into this data release day. Again, we also have jobless claims unemployment, so a little bit more recent data. This is definitely less lagging data in jobless claims. It's expected today at 209,000. Previously, it was 198K, I believe. We've had a really good trend of jobless claims unemployment filings coming in lower than expected, which is stronger for jobs, less people filing for unemployment. And so we've had a pretty decent trend of lower than expected and relatively low jobless claims unemployment filings week to week. It happens every Thursday. We get another one today at 8:30 along with GDP. So at 8:30 today, we have quarter 3 GDP, an updated estimate. GDP is expected at 4.3% for quarter 3. Jobless claims expected at 209,000, which again, if we do come in as expected for jobless claims, that will be a spike up relative to the previous number here. The previous number came in at 198K. I think they revised that. I'll have to check. But I know they revised the previous one up a very small amount. So nothing really major there. But yeah, 10 a.m. today, November and October PCE inflation. We'll have to see how accurate October data is, because even the October CPI data, a lot of people are going to consider that inaccurate. Yeah, I mean, if we look at a video, we can take a look at gold here. Here's gold. Gold's at 48.30s right now. So gold hit all-time highs. You know, I'm curious to see when gold breaks 5,000. I mean, I think kind of if you want gold to go up, you kind of need, I'm not going to say bad news for markets, but gold lately has been kind of going, I'm not going to say it's opposed markets, but uncertainty makes gold and silver spike, and that's something that we've seen earlier this week and last week as well. Do you think gold will go up or down? I mean, I think long-term gold's going to go up. Short-term, I have no idea what it's going to do. I hope it goes up. I've been in silver for a little bit, you know. And I'm pretty green on the day in stocks. Meta's green, Netflix is green, Nike's green, Oracle's green, Silver's green, PayPal's green, SoFi's green. Most stocks are green on the day today, but some are red. The way the market reacted yesterday. Yeah, I mean, the market reacted yesterday positively because people were worried that an invasion of Greenland was on the horizon, and the president basically came out yesterday and said that we're not going to do it, and he basically said that was never the plan as well. And so because of that, markets reacted positively to it, and that's just something that we've seen. He also, another reason the markets were down is because he had threatened 10% tariffs on about 8 European countries. He basically retracted that plan to implement the tariffs on the European countries. Got too much kickback for it probably, and backtracked a little bit there, and so markets overall and you know, digested that as a positive thing yesterday during the Davos speech. And he spoke way longer than expected yesterday. He was only supposed to speak for about 45 minutes, I think, or maybe, yeah, about 45 minutes speech. He was supposed to start at 8:30, end at 9:15. He went on till like 9:45, 10 o'clock, so about 30 minutes plus over expected. So I was okay with it. It made it easy for me to stream, you know. I think Bitcoin, I'd like to see Bitcoin over 90, and it's right around 90. I'm watching for 90 today is what I'm watching for. Whether it goes up or down, I'm not sure. I think we've been pretty sideways for the last few months for Bitcoin. And so questioning where, like, when it's going to break out of this range, I don't think anybody really knows unless you're big money. And so I think we've been too sideways for me to make any type of guess about what Bitcoin does right here. We've been sideways in Bitcoin again. If we put up like a daily chart, maybe even a weekly chart here, Bitcoin has basically been up and down since the beginning of last year. I mean, it's up last year, but here's 2025, up, down, up, down, up, down, you know. And so I don't know when it's going to break out of this range. We'll see. I hope it does, though. I hope it continues up, but we'll see. The market volatility was due to the bond market, not Greenland. Well, yeah, I mean, we also had yields spiking and bonds falling, but in Japan, I think, and others. I mean, it was obviously, I mean, Plasma, I think you're being a little bit too political, brother. I'm pretty neutral on all this stuff. Like, I really am neutral on all this stuff. The volatility, at least, was a little bit, it's all related, right? So yields are going to get influenced by, you know, geopolitics, markets, like all these different things. Like, one of the reasons we had, I think it was, what was it? I'm trying to think of who it was. There was a bank, I think it was in one of the Nordic countries, that it was a Danish company, yeah, that decided it wasn't going to buy U.S. Treasuries anymore, and there's just, and these are all influenced by geopolitics, monetary policy, the bond market. It's all correlated to a certain extent. So. 75K is happening for Bitcoin. We'll see. NASDAQ is very flat right now, though. Very flat. Here's the NASDAQ. Yeah, I mean, I could buy this low right here at the 200 exponential. But, sideways market is sideways, you know. Yeah, I mean, you could say everything's made up, Plasma, and again, I'm not against you, brother. Like, I'm really not. I'm very neutral on politics. I try to tell everybody this. It's not a made-up war. Market is based off of not necessarily direct health of different companies. It's based off of the sentiment around those things, right? So regardless of whether anything's real or not real, it's all based off of rumors and news. That's why the big saying in markets is buy the rumor, sell the news. And so markets react to geopolitics. Certainly they do. You know, I think you have to look at it. The easiest way to look at it is, when did this market start to rebound? Yesterday. You know? So here's 20. Let me go. I'll pull up the SPY. I think SPY is probably easiest to look at here. Maybe the NASDAQ. I'll put the Q. You know, market did this yesterday once the president started speaking. You know, went down a little bit and then got bought back up. But the big move on the upside started during the speech. You know, and one of the big things that news sources were circulating is that the president said he wasn't going to invade Greenland by force. The tariffs got rolled back for the 8 European countries. And so those things are just seen as more risk on, less uncertainty. You know, obviously those are influencing the market on the upside. Speaking of that, though, the president just said restrictions on defense companies is very free market. Defense companies have not complained about restrictions. All right, so yeah, here's the spot, or here's the NASDAQ. Bring this back down here. Might have too many lines on these charts. Stocks are pretty green today too, though. I'm curious to what to do with Oracle here. I'm in Oracle. I think I've taken some profit and then maybe added back size. But yeah, Oracle at 177s. Might add a little more to Oracle here. We'll see what happens. Again, it's small risk. Yeah. Markets are just anything that might cause uncertainty makes gold and silver spike, and markets go down recently. It's kind of how it goes. All right, so the U.S. and China have signed off on a deal to sell TT U.S. business to a consortium of mostly U.S. investors led by Oracle and Silver Lake. The final deal closing is intended to meet a January 22nd deadline outlined by the current administration in order to... well, today's January 22nd. Are they talking about next year? PCE's at 10 a.m. GDP data is at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Jobless claims at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. What it is. So again, GDP data is at 8:30. Jobless claims unemployment at 8:30. PCE at 10. What it is. So again, the GDP data, we got jobs coming out. Got PCE, and we got GDP data. So we got honestly a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I'm checking some of these other sources here. I'm trying to figure out. I think down to 80K for Bitcoin, if not 70 in the next 4 months. Yeah, I like the 200 exponential. You can see why. Like, I think algorithms watch the 200 exponential, and I use it a lot with all my different systems here. 1, 2, 3, 4 tests. You know, even if we zoom out prior to that, you know, it broke underneath it for a little while, but like, look at this. Like, you can just see the range here in the 200 exponential right here. For a solid hour, it just bounced off of the 200 exponential. And so I think sometimes it can be easy money. Nothing's easy money in markets for sure. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, most markets want low inflation. I think inflation data is less nuanced in terms of what the market wants versus some other stuff like jobs and data and stuff. I think inflation data, people generally want it lower on both sides. And so if it comes in high, people are generally not necessarily happy about that on either side of the spectrum. I think if we're talking about jobs data, I think some people want low jobs because that can justify more rate cuts. And over the last 5 years plus, we've seen that dynamic time and time again, where some people want a lower jobs report. They want justifiable rate cuts. And because in order for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates and have more of a green light to cut interest rates, they need a reason for it. They need justification for it. And so their justification is low jobs. If they also don't want high inflation on that end. You know, because high inflation is kind of like a roadblock to rate cuts, because by lowering interest rates, you might cause inflation to get worse. So it's I would say jobs reports are a little bit more nuanced in that context. And we do have a jobs report in 35 minutes, jobless claims unemployment. But yeah, I would say generally people want low inflation regardless of which argument you have. When does gold break $5,000 an ounce, chat? Let me know. When does gold break 5K an ounce? I think it's close. It's close to 5K an ounce. I think the closer we get to it, the more likely it is that we test it. But we're in the wake of a pullback after the tariffs got pushed back and the Greenland thing settled a little bit here. Gold up to 48.20s right now. It's still very close to 5,000. So gold less than $200 away from 5,000. So when do you guys think it actually breaks it? The 200, the blue one right here is the 200 exponential. On the right side of the charts, the yellow one is the 200 exponential. This is the 200 EMA. 200 EMA is here. This is the 200 EMA on this chart. So this one only has the 200 exponential. This one has the volume weighted average price, which is the purple line. I put purple and gold. Just go Tigers. But that's the volume weighted average price. That is the 200 exponential underneath it. And again, even here, like, look, bounce. For gold and silver, I've been using it a lot as well to trade it. Again, markets are very quiet ahead of this data release. Again, we have two different data releases at 10 a.m. We have November and October PCE inflation data. Well, nothing's 100%. Yeah, today, in 2 weeks, by March, next month. Yeah, today's a big data today for sure. Tomorrow, Gold needs a pullback to 4,700. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so again, China and the U.S. did sign off on the TT-US spinoff. It was cleared by the U.S. and China. That's probably what's boosting Oracle here, because Oracle's said to own a piece of it. Apparently, I added to this just in time. Let's see if Oracle continues higher. Gold futures to 5,000 if Greenland deal stalls. Yeah, where's Open Door? I remember telling... Where's it at right now? Yeah, I mean, the pullback, honestly, just in terms of pure technicals, it's not the worst pullback I've ever seen. I'm not necessarily interested in buying it, though, because it's too risky. Just the problem... Number one, the real problem recently is just... Are they going to be able to successfully execute this type of business? And I think that's a very difficult thing to predict. I think it had a lot of hype. It's run up a lot. It's still, I mean, traders who bought it earlier last year in 2025 are probably still doing really, really well for Open Door, but I think the NASDAQ will wake up a little bit here. Again, the president did say earlier restrictions on defense companies are, quote, very free market. They've not complained about it. Intel earnings, what, after the closing bell today, right? Yeah, 4 o'clock. Intel releases earnings. They're only expected at 8 cents a share. So still about 13.3 billion in revenue, though, for Intel. Again, looking at our poll, most people are bullish. 71% are bullish today on the economic reports we have. Again, 71% bullish. We have GDP data in about 30 minutes. Jobless claims, PCE inflation, and more coming out today, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see what that looks like. Who knows? Give it time. NASDAQ's starting to wake back up again. I'm looking at 25.7s here. Yeah, so what I'm showing today, I'm showing 0.2% expected. The offer rate showed up at 3.63% versus 3.64 on the 20th. Snap, man. Honestly, it's been a while since I've looked at Snap. I haven't looked at Snapchat in years. I was holding it for a little while. You know, there's a nice range to attack it sometimes between like $7 and $8 a share. Still looks like that range is there. Went as high as 11s. But monetization problems. You know, now that I have kids, Snapchat is basically just like a messaging app. Which can be big and pull in big money. I think Snapchat has had a hard time monetizing themselves, though. A lot of users, not easy to monetize is the problem with Snapchat. So I've strayed from holding it long term because I think it's been around long enough to where if there was good ways to monetize it, would have found it. Now it still makes did Snap? Where's Snap's EPS? Yeah, it's still losing money. Although the graph is arguably getting better. Especially if the trailing 12-month graph, but it's still losing money. Favorite stock for 2026? I don't know. Alphabet maybe, or I don't know. I have to look. Maybe I like microchips as well. I think Alphabet's got a good mix of chip sentiment. and tech sentiment. Okay, so the president said that the U.S. is negotiating a deal to secure total access to Greenland, citing national security concerns. So he's seeking quote-unquote total access to Greenland. He said the agreement would have no time limit and is already under negotiation. He added that the U.S. and NATO have reached a framework for a broader Arctic deal, which prompted him to pause planned tariffs on Europe. Again, NATO did confirm talks aimed at preventing other countries from gaining a foothold in Greenland. And he also said the U.S. can have as many bases as we want in Greenland. That is coming out right now. Yeah, Supermicro Semiconductors, I don't know. They're young, they're hyped up, they've been making big moves up and down. They went to 123s, remember, back in 2024. They're now down at 30s, so I don't know about Supermicro. TSM I like a lot more. But they're up so much. I think they'll still go well, though, but... Yeah, NASDAQ went over 25.7, still bouncing here. I'm going to put the SPY up right now. But again, in 25 minutes, we've got GDP data. 25 minutes. Look at SPY. All right, guys. So we have pushed up the last like 10-15 minutes here. Let's see if we hold now. Gold top is in. Supermicro can hit 60-70. I would say there's a better chance for the Greenland thing versus the lottery. Depends on what lottery we're talking here, but I would say there's a better chance of it than the lottery. I don't necessarily think it's the highest chance, but I think sentiment regarding that, interest regarding that, everything regarding that could change. President said if we don't get the Supreme Court decision we want on tariffs, we'll do something else. Again, the latest Truflation reading is down 1.2%. Truflation says consumer price inflation is already down to 1.4%. We think it's on its way to negative territory. Again, U.S. has no plans to offer security guarantees to oil companies that plan to operate overseas or in Venezuela. Yeah, AMD, honestly, AMD and other like MU have had a really good couple days here. If you put up like a 1 hour chart on AMD, look at MU. I know it had earnings, I think, not that long ago. Look at a daily chart. Look at a 4 hour chart on MU. So MU has done really, really well. Back in October, it was at 190s. It's at almost $400 a share right now for MU. We can look at AMD as well, and AMD has done some pretty big things as well here. You know, AMD just a couple weeks ago was at 200s. It's now at 250s. So it's up 25% basically in a couple weeks for AMD. So we have seen some microchip stocks run. Nvidia has not been as strong though. So Nvidia has not been as strong. Wells Fargo CEO Charles Scharf says rates will likely go lower, according to him. Charles Scharf, Wells Fargo CEO, he's thinking rates will likely go lower. Yeah, MU had a good earnings report. Yeah, silver is just elevated here, still at 90s, down a little bit on the day though, and over the last few days, just because we've had more stability, geopolitics. So silver and gold have come back down slightly, not really down a lot. But the other question is, when does silver break $100 an ounce? Silver's very close, just like gold's very close to 5K. So yeah, I think that's another big question. The president's also still speaking. I think he's on Fox. He said big retaliation if Europe sells U.S. assets like bonds. Again, he's saying big retaliation if Europe sells U.S. assets like bonds. And the reason this probably is not good is because it's going to make yields spike if they do. Right? So like if other countries start selling our bonds, bond prices will probably go down and the underlying yields will go up. And so it's going to be harder to control things too, just by selling of bonds if other countries start to do it. So Alphabet's starting to pull back a little bit here. So is the NASDAQ. I almost want to buy this dip. I think I might actually. We got a little bit of time left. I think we're going to chop sideways. Yesterday we did make some money. We're going to buy down here at the support level of like 690s. If we could pop up quickly here. There we go. A nice little pop up here. I do want to give it just a second. Not the biggest position. I'm realizing the range is kind of tight on the day, but we're green nonetheless. There we go. Look at that bounce level here. Got it right there. We just got an immediate bounce here. Just an immediate bounce. I think when it goes that fast in my direction, I gotta just, you know, accept the profit. I don't want it to test 700 and get rejected right there. That's why I covered it. Inflation will accelerate. Yeah, I mean, that's a worry today. And again, today, PCE inflation data goes live. So. Yeah, the reason I bought this pullback right here is just because we had a big wall of support. That makes sense. So even if we don't hold, you know, we confirmed it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the last few hours, hour or so really. And so when we dip down to that level immediately, even if we don't hold, like even if I could just get an immediate bounce up here like we did and then cover, it might continue breaking down. But we had so much support here that I think at least a short-term bounce makes sense. And we did bounce. Even if it breaks down now, I'm already out. I just wanted to ride the potential initial bounce from just that retest of all of this right here. You know? I think a short-term bounce is high. We ended up breaking down lower here, though, if you watch it. Again, the president is still speaking. Again, Wells Fargo CEO on credit card cap says 10% on everyone overall could be a problem on CNBC. And again, Paramount also came out saying they believe their $30 a share cash offer for Warner Bros. Is, quote, superior. Again, Wells Fargo CEO on credit card cap said it could lead to a meaningful reduction in credit. Trump said on risks of European Union selling U.S. treasuries, he said if they do, they do. Hey, thank you for the donation. Traveling the world, you keep me virtual company everywhere I go. Hey, thank you, Boris. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for the support. Yeah, I mean, if they start selling bonds, it's going to make our interest rates higher, make people panic. Again, Nasdaq's starting to fall here, though. Look at this. Online friends. Yeah. Selling bonds will crush the stock market. Yeah, I watch some of those travel guys. I watch what's the guys like Luke something. I watch Luke something, and I'll watch the other British guy. I can't remember his name, man. I'm in silver, gold, you know. Where's oil at right now? I'm curious to see. We did mention some Venezuela stuff this morning. Here's oil. Oil down to 59.40s. He's speaking right now. It's on a network, so when the president asked about Europe selling assets, first says no. Again, we have Paramount speaking right now, saying that their Paramount's basically still arguing 40. They believe their $30 cash offer for Warner Bros. Is superior. It extends expiration date of tender offer to February 20th and continues to work towards regulatory clearance on the deal. Warner Bros. Continues to withhold highly material information, according to them. And that Warner Bros. Rushing to solicit HLDR approval for the Netflix bid. President said we are going to buy more military equipment, and then the meeting that he had with I mean, he can keep speaking, you know, he can keep speaking to me for me, but gives me something to talk about. Alright, so look, here's 680. I should have maybe bought this dip. Again, 200 exponential and a previous support or resistance level right here. I think that makes it really nice for a bounce. But, 5-year yield exceeds 5%. It'll be a very big deal, not just for the US, but globally. Yeah, I mean, we don't want other companies selling our bonds, or countries selling our bonds, obviously, you know. President's still speaking. He says there will be more military equipment purchases. Yeah, I should have taken this 200 exponential. Look at it right here. I think, like, my favorite thing to do in charting, is I take two specific bounce levels that people look at. Algorithms look at them, you know, all that stuff. I take two specific ones. In this instance, and I've talked about this a lot, I take the 200 exponential and a previously confirmed support or resistance level like this, right? Because this level was on my chart way before we had this big bounce up here. And so when we have like a relatively decent extended pullback to this level, and it's all relative, like this is a small pullback to a lot of people, but it's big enough for me. But yeah, it's big enough for me. We get a nice little bounce back up a lot of the time. That 200 exponential, algorithms love it. So they play off of it. And yeah, that's what this is. So you see it a lot with markets. You do. You really do. I like TSM generally. So, all right, guys. Hey, we got 13 minutes. 13 minutes until this data comes out here. Lutnick says Al Gore was the only person who booed me at the Davos dinner. That's funny. Al Gore. I haven't heard of his name in a while, man. He was the only person that booed the U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick at Davos. Funny. I use it on a 1 minute chart. I think algorithms pick it up on a 1 minute chart. I think that's why you see these bounces. I feel like I talk about these every day. The 200 exponential pullback, but they just work so well, man. If it works, it works. I think the logic of it makes sense too. Like algorithms use it. Technicals are all self-fulfilling anyway. People are just watching it and playing off of it. So enough people use the 200 EMA, it's gonna work. All right, guys, GDP data, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, it's kind of expected at a wild number today. Q3 GDP. It's late data, but it's expected at 4.3% today. 4.3% for GDP. I've had enough green days in a row too. Like if you think about it, I'm on a pretty big green streak. Not huge, but we've had. Yeah, I'm not even claiming to be a good trader, not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose, but we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green days in a row on this account, the main account we've been trading on. You can see my gains are getting smaller and smaller though, which means my risk tolerance is getting lower and lower the longer the green streak goes on. Maybe it should be opposite of that, but hey, green is good. Yeah, I would say 20% of the time it works 100% time. Gonna exit out of some stuff here. All right, guys, let's prepare. PCE inflation data going live. 11 minutes or so. A little bit less than that, actually. Or not PCE, I'm sorry. GDP data live at 8:30. I would say PCE data probably is going to have the largest impact. Somebody said, which data is more important? GDP, jobs, or PCE? I would say PCE probably. GDP might move markets. Jobs might move markets because, again, jobless claims is a week-to-week unemployment filing report, and this is in 10 minutes as well. Expected at 209,000. But it's a week-to-week unemployment filings report. And so because of that, it is relevant. It is important to look at. And it might influence markets, right? We don't know for sure. It might. I can't say for certain, but again, it might. It might. We'll see. Again, so the president essentially warning of retaliation if Europe sells U.S. securities. Lutnick's still speaking. He said Greenland framework is based on national security. President would like to see another reconciliation plan. Lutnick on Europe, Canada. He said our relations are, quote, perfectly fine, end quote. Again, he said our negotiations. The president, again, still speaking on Fox Business, that we're going to have a budget. We're negotiating healthcare. We're going to have a budget, but now it's too early. I don't want insurance companies getting the money. Would like to see another reconciliation plan. He said, talking to Putin, he said the war has to end. Lutnick did say that the U.S.-European trade deal will probably be put on UN hold. And then that the Greenland framework deal, this is Lutnick speaking, Greenland framework deal is based on national security. So they're both speaking at the same time right now. All right, guys, here we go, though. We're heading into the GDP data release here. Yeah, as of now, there's only a 13% chance the president's going to acquire Greenland before 2027. There's a 28% the U.S. will at least acquire part of Greenland. Now there's only a 6% chance on betting markets that the U.S. will invade Greenland this year. Still kind of unpredictable, though. Who knows what's going to happen with this type of stuff. I love you. Good day. Or PCE inflation expected at 0.2%. Yeah, some people are saying it's at 0.1. It's anywhere between 0.1 and 0.2% expected for inflation data, but this all drops at 10 a.m. So again, this is all coming out at like 10 o'clock. Yeah, we're right at the top here. I think markets are just waiting for this data to come out. I think that's probably what's causing stagnant markets here, just waiting for the economic reports to come out today. We got some in a couple minutes, and then we got another one at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The president said that we will probably be issuing dividends if we win the tariff case. So again, he said we'll probably be issuing dividends if we win the tariff case. The next deadline for the tariff case, or not the deadline, the next potential date we might get a decision by the Supreme Court on whether the tariffs stand, I think right now is February 20th. So we got like a month basically to wait for a potential Supreme Court tariff decision. And even then we don't know if it's going to come out. A lot of people, there's whispers of like April or longer until we actually get a decision by the US Supreme Court on whether the president's tariffs will actually stand. So we were covering it the last few weeks, but they never announced which cases were in the batch, and so we knew a potential decision could come out, but ultimately nothing did regarding the tariffs, just other cases that were irrelevant to the broad economy. Yeah, I mean, I try to make everything probably. Nothing's absolute. Nothing's definitive. Nobody freaking knows what we're going to get. And so it's all, there's variance. Something can be the most probable thing and then not happen. And so I never want to lead people astray in that regard. And remember, guys, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable. I don't even claim to be a good trader. I don't sell a course. I just cover economics, markets. I day trade, swing trade, and invest. We cover breaking news. We cover economic reports. You know, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. Thanks, guys. But yeah. Yeah, only a Sith deals in absolutes. That's right. I'm a Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars. Well, I mean, you get people that come in that are like, hey, you know, this is absolutely going to happen. And then it's like, is it really? I think somebody said the other day, right before we ripped up big, that the market was going to crash. And it was absolutely going to happen. I can't remember who said it. But I think my response to them at the time was, nobody freaking knows. Especially not crashes. People over-predict crashes heavily as well. Like, everybody wants to predict the next big market crash. They watch The Big Short, and then they're like, you know what? Market's going to crash tomorrow. I believe it. I'm going to put it out there so everybody knows. So I'm like Michael Burry. Even Michael Burry will tell you the market crashes way more than it ever does. Anyways. Again, GDP data coming live at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today for GDP data. Again, quarter over quarter today, it's expected at 4.3%. 4.3%. Jobless claims coming out at the same time. Currently expected at 209 to 212,000 jobless claims. Unemployment filings. Let's see what we get. But again, GDP data, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have 3 minutes left. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up to the stream. Again, 4.3% expected for quarter 3. Jobless claims expected at 209 to 212. Here we go. 2.5 minutes, guys. Give me your last minute predictions here. Bull or bear for this report? I did a poll here. 70% out of about 1,000 votes. 71% are bullish. 30% are bearish. Again, we have 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. Major upside on commodities? Maybe. Bitcoin is now over $90,000. So Bitcoin is now over 90K. We have, I'm going to put gold right here. Here's to see how markets are going to respond to this. I'll put the SPY up here. I'll put gold on the right. Put the NASDAQ in the left side. See what we get here. Bitcoin again over 90K though. We have about 1.5 minutes left. Again, the president said we'll be paying off debt if we win the tariff SCOTUS case. Lutnick said the idea of China opening to Canada trade is the silliest thing. All right, so the president is now also done speaking here, and we have 1 minute left before quarter 3 GDP and jobless claims unemployment filings come out. Again, it's expected today at 4.3% today, 4.3%. Previous was it was 3.8%. All right, guys, here we go. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. We're going to read the full report as well. Again, here we go. 15 seconds. All right, we have our sources. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. And here we go. Right in about 5 seconds, actually. All right, here we go. Again, jobless claims coming out. GDP coming out. And right now. Okay, guys. So jobless claims 200,000 versus 209,000 expected. GDP 4.4%. 4.4% for GDP. 200,000 forgot jobless claims. Again, 200,000 for jobless claims, which was lower than expected. Stronger for jobs than expected. Again, stronger for jobs than expected. GDP 4.4% for quarter 3 versus 4.3% expected. Jobless claims 200,000. The NASDAQ has reacted positively. Bitcoin has gone up on this report. Look at Bitcoin rise on this report. Gold and silver going down on less uncertainty, stronger data here. And let's take a deeper look at this. Again, we have PCE inflation coming out at 10 a.m. today, guys. PCE inflation coming out at 10 a.m. Stick around. We got core PCE inflation coming out at 10 a.m. And again, we'll see what we get. But so far, jobless claims lower than expected. PCE prices quarter over quarter 2.9%. They expected 2.9% as well. This is kind of a pre-release to PCE inflation at 10 o'clock, though. It's not the actual PCE. It's just PCE prices. So a little bit of a prelim data. Jobless claims, again, 200,000. They expected 212K. It was the previous one was 199,000. It was revised lower to 198K as well here. So again, the data came in. If we look at jobless claims by the Department of Labor is who releases jobless claims here. Here is the most recent jobless claims report. And again, you can kind of see in the week ending January 17th, the advanced figure for jobless claims, 200,000, an increase of 1,000 from the previous revised level. Look at the NASDAQ turn. Whoa, here, hold on. Let me see what this is. Yeah, jobless claims came in lower than expected. That should be better here. It should be better. Look at that drop. Whoa. Again, 4.4% for GDP. 2.9% for core PCE price index is expected 2.9%. Look at the market turn though all of a sudden here. Interesting. 4.4% GDP. Again, subscribe. We cover this immediately as soon as it comes out. Still kind of pivoting back and forth though, but man, look at that drop all of a sudden here. It looked like we were reacting positively to this, and then we just dropped. But again, jobless claims 200,000. Lower is better. This is how many people are filing for unemployment. Now we're getting bought back up. Very flat still. I think the big PCE inflation report's going live at 10 a.m. That's going to have more influence than this, but we are moving some. Look at this weird price action here. Look at this candle just now. Look at that candle. Strange. We just got bought all the way back up here. Yeah, continuing claims came in at 1.849 million. A decrease of 26,000. So continuing and initial claims came in lower than expected, showing stronger labor than expected week to week. As well as, again, GDP data showed stronger than expected GDP at 4.4%. Look at the NASDAQ buy this up here, though. Interesting. Look at that move here, bro. Look at that candle. We had a big candle on the downside. It's all relative to the recent price action. Look at Bitcoin turn. I think maybe Bitcoin is going down because it means less easing potentially. I'm curious to see if yields are going to go up from this report, because it does show less need to cut interest rates, if that makes sense, right? So if you look at yields are increasing from this report. And look at this candle too, bro. What is going on right now? What weird movement here. Bitcoin falling down back under 90K. I'm not touching this right here. I don't want to trade this. This is crazy looking. I know it's all relative to recent price action. So if recent price action like it is today is really flat, it's going to look bigger than it is for sure. But relative to the recent moves we've seen, that's a big candle. And I think even if you take the range of this out of the equation, I think having a huge candle on the downside and then immediately having a huge green candle on the upside and then immediately having a huge red candle back to the downside is strange price action, regardless of which way you look at it, regardless of how big the move actually is. It just looks strange to me. Not something you see a lot with stuff like that. Bitcoin is having a cleaner move on the downside. Gold is as well. NASDAQ's weird looking. I think the 10 a.m. data is going to be much bigger influence for sure. So I think the 10 a.m. data that we get today is going to influence the market more than GDP data is today. I think GDP is important, but inflation data for 2 different months is more important right now, especially. So I think I think GDP data is interesting, better than expected, stronger labor. It's going to make yields go up a little bit because we have less of a reason to cut rates with stronger GDP and better jobs report today. But I also think that PCE data is going to have a bigger influence over all of this stuff because it's 2 different months of inflation data. And so we'll see. 10 a.m. today. Again, here's yields. Yields are spiking up a little bit. Again, stick around. We got 10 a.m. I use a 1-minute chart because we're looking at data and how the market is influenced by the data. And so I don't think looking at a 5-minute chart to interpret short-term data releases makes any logical sense. I also trade off of it a lot, but I'm a scalper in that way regardless. But yeah, 10 a.m. today, guys. 10 a.m. Let's see what we get. Yeah, 30-point candles aren't small. Well, it's oldish. I mean, October's old. November's more recent. Again, 10 a.m. today for PCE inflation. Yeah, we got about an hour and 23 minutes until PCE inflation data comes out. It drops at 10 o'clock today. I'll do another timer for PCE inflation just so you guys can see it. And we are going to trade. At least we're getting some volatility. I'm interested in buying this. Maybe if we hold this level, I am potentially interested in buying this. We'll give it a second though. Yeah, PCE inflation in what, an hour and 22 minutes or so now? There we go. PCE is expected at 0.2% today. GDP data is out. I'm sorry. We already covered it multiple times. But GDP data, 4.3% GDP. Jobless claims 200,000 is what it was. So we'll put the jobless claims data up. We'll put all of this stuff on the main bottom of the screen here. But again, GDP data, 4.3% versus, or 4.4%, I'm sorry, versus 4.3 expected. Again, that's the data on the screen right now. Yeah, tomorrow is it PMI data tomorrow? Let me see. Tomorrow's PMI data. I mean, I don't know how much it's going to affect markets, but I will say manufacturing and services PMI flash data is usually, I'm not going to say it's less influential, but it's less influential than the ISM data usually. And so we'll see how much flash and manufacturing are relevant. We'll cover it tomorrow like we always do, but we'll see what it does. PCE didn't come out. We just had PCE prices, which is not the same thing. Core PCE is expected at 0.2% in about an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, it's expected about 0.2%. All right, so the president just came out regarding Greenland again. I thought he was done speaking, but he just came out saying the Greenland deal reportedly entails missile, mining rights, and NATO, according to him. Anyone know what happened in the silver yesterday? It felt like a rock at around $3. Yeah, so silver fell yesterday once the president announced he's reversing the 10% tariffs on European countries. And, you know, they also said yesterday that probably made silver drop because of less uncertainty that we're not going to be invading Greenland by force, is essentially what happened. So that market ended up ripping up yesterday. It's very green from yesterday. I might buy 700s, guys, if we get another pullback to it. I think I just kind of have to wait for this, though. Up Mama Pawn. Again, stick around. This is not the biggest data release we have today. 10 a.m. today is the biggest data release. But again, stick around. I don't really want to short here. If I do anything, I'll probably maybe buy this here. We'll try it. Maybe add one or two. We're already green on the day, so we got a cushion. Oh wait, this is the regular NQ. Oops. And it might be time for me to get used to the regular NQ. I'll see if we bounce fast, but again, the PCE inflation data is a little bit larger. I'm gonna cut it right here. I had to trade the regular NASDAQ. That's all right. If the NASDAQ holds now. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the NASDAQ, regular NASDAQ, might justify a little bit better range right now just because of the smaller range we've had in pre-market. But we woke up a little bit from GDP data. We still got time, though. We still got about an hour and 15 or 20 minutes left. Yeah, if we look at the SPY, again, silver. Bitcoin did fall a little bit. Again, it makes sense. Bitcoin wants easing, especially last few months. Bitcoin wants easing. And so Bitcoin over the last few days has reacted, or Bitcoin over the last few months really has wanted lower interest rates. And anything that might cause easing by the Federal Reserve or lower interest rates generally makes Bitcoin go up. And anything that might argue against that makes Bitcoin go down recently. Meaning like stronger jobs and stronger GDP data does what? It argues against earlier cuts. You know, at this point in time, a cut this month is very low probabilities. It's only about, what, 5%? Yeah, it's still at 5%. 5% chance of a rate cut this month. Very improbable. And again, Bitcoin wants easing, so that goes against what Bitcoin wants. And so Bitcoin now is falling down on this report, specifically because it means less potential easing by the Federal Reserve. And that's why Bitcoin has trended negatively from this. We also see gold trending negatively from this, and more. So we'll see what happens leading into PCE inflation data at 10 o'clock, top of the hour. We also have the opening bell in between there at 9:30, guys, in about 45 minutes. So again, bull or bear today, guys. Bull or bear. Put bull or bear in chat. I'm curious to see what people think. Heading into PCE inflation, are you guys bullish or bearish? We did a poll on today's economic report. 70% were bullish out of 1,300 votes. 30% were bearish. Again, let me know if you're bull or bear today. We got data coming out later at 10. We had data come out just now that showed stronger economy than expected for quarter 3 at least, but it is delayed, right? GDP data was delayed. It did move more than I thought it would. We also have the Bank of America CEO Moynihan saying the Bank of America is talking to the administration about affordability issues. All right, we're at 686s here. 686s. All right, so the president is leaving Davos, but bad weather kept his travel grounded. Did I spell inflation wrong? Oh, I did. I said innovation. Man, I did spell it wrong. You are correct, sir. Ugh. Yeah, we got about an hour and 15 minutes. All right. We'll fix it. It'll let me fix it. Like, I think it'll restart it. Right. Again, let me look at our poll here. We asked people, are you bull or bear? Bull, bear, bull. Right into the tech earnings Super Bowl. Bull, bear, bull, bear. Pretty split, honestly. Bull, turn, bear, bear. Hey, man, what did you say about the Greenland deal? What do you mean? Again, there's currently a 95% chance the Fed pauses rates this month. Angry Bear? No. Definitely top 3 spellers ever. Explaining to people the difference between inflation and deflation. Yeah, I mean, look, prices don't go down, they slow down is the easiest way to understand it, right? So when we talk about the inflation rate declining, we're talking about the rate at which inflation or prices increase is slowing, you know? Actual negative inflation, like which would mean prices are excluding food and energy generally, but prices in general are literally going down, would be deflation. Okay, so deflation is very rare normally. And so it a lot of the time, if we look at, I always try to go over this so people can understand it. If we look at it, a CPI inflation graph, you know, and this is by the Bureau of Labor Statistics who publishes CPI data. If we look at this graph, the only time you really see deflation here is bad economic events, recessions, and more. Last time we really got it was 2007, 2008 mortgage crisis. So I mean, it's rare, and usually when it does happen, it's not necessarily good. best we can hope for after the last 5 years is just price stability and slowing inflation. Nick, what are you talking about, man? I never said that. Really, he said yesterday we're not going to invade Greenland by force. We did have some news. I don't think I said that. Maybe I freaking did. I don't know. I don't think I did though. What I did say was that it entails missile mining rights in NATO regarding the Greenland deal. No, I'm not in a trade right now, but look at the NASDAQ pop here, guys. Wow. These moves. Driving this. Buy is up. Nvidia just popped, so it might be microchip news. AMD, MU. Looks tech related. I mean, I don't know what these last 3 candles were, but they were something. We had the Bank of America CEO speaking. Yeah, over resistance at 700. Watching 750 above us though. Okay, I was about to say, Nick. I was like, I hope that new, because for me, I'm looking at whether markets are really reacting to something or not, and so I was hoping it wasn't. I was hoping it wasn't that. Yeah. Because like one thing that I'm seeing lately is like I see people show up to the stream and they just make up stuff. I don't know if they try to throw me off. I'm usually pretty on though, where like when the data's coming out, what it is. And so last big streams, we've had a couple big streams the last few days. They lately people have been coming in and they'd be like, oh, the data's already out or something, and they're just trying to throw people off. Yeah, Bitcoin again falling down because of stronger jobs data and stronger GDP data. I mean, Bitcoin wants easing, you know, in order to ease justifiably in a lot of people's minds, we need to have a weak labor market. And jobless claims have had pretty consistently low trends in terms of jobless claims unemployment filings every week. GDP data was stronger than expected as well. It is delayed data, but it just puts a little bit more doubt in an earlier rate cut cycle, if that makes sense. And so people, Bitcoin specifically, which has one of the easier correlations with stuff like this, is reacting negatively because of less potential easing and less arguments for lower interest rates. I think that's one of the easier correlations in markets right now. With that said, though, it might be some of the easiest ways to make money from it as well. Like if we get really weak job numbers, you know, crypto could react positively, Bitcoin could react positively to it, or really weak job numbers, I mean. Yeah, it could be random orders. I'm waiting for new data to come out here, but I think the market also, again, is just waiting for GDP and PCE data. Look at that 715 level that we had on our chart. So remember, we had this level on our chart. We currently bounced there at least a little bit. Again, PCE inflation going live at 10 a.m. today, guys. Has there been any more news about the government shutdown potential here? See. I hope it doesn't happen again. But Bitcoin's right here. I think of whether I want to buy this dip. I think the market also, you could argue, market's going to be choppy and stagnant ahead of PCE because it's apprehensive. All right, so apparently there is still a real, but it's shrinking risk of a partial shutdown around the January 30th deadline. The momentum in Congress right now is towards passing a full year funding and avoiding one. They have until January 30th to pass the remaining 26 appropriation bills or short-term extension. Lawmakers, both chambers, have now released a bipartisan omnibus package covering the final group of agencies. So now a shutdown is less likely. Okay, so yeah, so if the broader package passes, they've already included the data agencies like the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. PCE data is released by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. The Bureau of Labor Statistics releases the jobs report, the labor report we get monthly, as well as CPI inflation data and others. So they've already approved those. So their data releases should continue without disruption as long as the broader package passes. Yeah, so that's not gonna happen. Good. Again, I'm thinking about buying 715. We're green on the day. We did get into a trade off stream, which again, it's just easier. So we did make a little bit more. I think we're up like $100, but it's small. But it's green nonetheless here. And again, we got PCE inflation in about an hour. About an hour. Hope there's a shutdown so we get some cheap buys like last April. Yeah, I mean, the last shutdown we got in November, it was kind of weird in terms of how the market responded, though. I mean, I cover a lot of economic data, so I don't really like... obviously, I don't like the government shutting down for selfish reasons. I mean, look, I know it affects a lot of other people much more drastically, but yeah. Bitcoin's starting to get a little elevated here. Here's gold. Again, gold's mostly down on these reports. You can see the SPY and the NASDAQ are pretty green over the last hour or so, which is good. We're heading into the opening bell in 35 minutes here, guys. 35 minutes. You guys red or green so far this week? What has it been? 3 days this week? Monday was closed. What has it been? 3 days this week? You guys red or green right now? I'm definitely green on the week here. I mean, stocks I'd have to take a look at. I'm actually really green in stocks on the day, specifically from Oracle. I added to Oracle this morning, if you guys remember. Oracle's up to almost 180s again, which is good. Still in Netflix. I added some size to that one too. Home Depot is very green, which is nice. Disney is also green now, which is nice. Look at Oracle, though, as we speak here. Oracle up to 179.20s right now for Oracle. See, we got... most people are green. Stoic says red. I appreciate the honesty. Yeah, I think it was like November 14th, Nick. That's when the shutdown was. I'm in on Oracle. Green with a cushion. All right, we are creeping higher here. We're at 730s right now, 730s. The Nasdaq. I should have bought the 715 level. I was thinking about it. I didn't. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. Should have bought it. Should have held. Is what I'm saying. Oracle up to 179.40s here. Again, PCE inflation data. We get 2 different months. You know what I'm unhappy about, guys? This is not market or economics related. You know what I'm unhappy about? I gotta miss the first UFC Paramount like no more pay-per-view. It's the first I've paid for pay-per-views for UFC for freaking like a long time. The first one, great card. Gotta miss it. Got a previous engagement I gotta do, man. Ugh. I'm unhappy about it, man. I'm freaking unhappy. Music is stressing you out. I'm sorry. I'm pretty green again. I don't know how many green days I've had in a row now. It's something. Let me see. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green days in a row now. Kind of nervous about continuing this streak though. Like, I'm nervous about it. We'll see. Dude, I'm unhappy about this. I told my wife I would do something with her. She's making me stick to it. Ugh. Man, it hurts. It hurts a little bit. Ugh. All right. Did you drink coffee today? Dude, I drink coffee every day. All right, so both the president and Zelensky said the meeting between the two were very good. Again, Nasdaq's climbing higher. Oracle's basically up to 180s right now. Bitcoin has fallen down since we had stronger jobs, stronger GDP data. And this is all heading into PCE inflation data in less than an hour now, and really almost exactly an hour. We'll watch the UFC for you. Yeah, all right, I appreciate it. Oh, it hurts though, man. All right, look at Oracle, guys. Still moving up at 180s. At 180s. There's another inflation data update today. Yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We get 2 months of inflation data, personal consumption expenditure index data, which is PCE inflation. Core PCE is the more watched one, to be honest. Headline PCE still watched though. They're both expected around 0.1 or 0.2% today, month over month. And we get data from October and November today. So we get 2 separate PCE inflation reports for 2 separate months today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're both expected right around the same thing. And again, the question is the accuracy regarding this data? Like, how accurate is this data ultimately going to be? Who freaking knows, man? I don't know. I'm just going to cover it. Yeah, not yesterday's coffee. I don't like the music today. This is what I did. I selected on my music. I selected suspenseful music. You know, so it's a little bit more stressful music today, which is all right. We got some stressful reports coming out today. We got the opening bell in 28 minutes. Again, economic data is pretty heavy today. We got 2 different reports. 8:30 already came out. 4.3% Q3 GDP and PC inflation at 10 today. We also had 200,000 jobless claims, and they revised the previous week down as well. I think it was 199. They revised it to 198. So again, that's why Bitcoin's falling right now. Nasdaq's pulling back to 715 again. I don't necessarily like the retest of it. Emma's going to tap out Gaethje. I don't know. Gaethje wrestled. Huh? Life is so unfair. I know, bro. First world problems. I get it. I get it. I'm allowed to be unhappy, though. I really am. Let's see if we bounce at 715 again. Bitcoin still breaking down. Gold's bouncing a little bit here as well. Oracle went all the way up to 180s now. It's kind of sitting here at 180 even. I think Paddy Pimblett's going to win, but I think Gaethje also has good wrestling skills. He's hard to take down, and he's got brutal knockout power. And so I don't think it's an easy fight for Paddy at all. Maybe if Paddy beats Gaethje, Gaethje's getting old. I get it. But I don't think Gaethje's ever an easy fight for anybody, unless you're Max Holloway. Oracle at 180s. All right, we're at 715s here. 715. I don't want to get too brought into the corners of MMA. I'll talk about MMA. I just started training jiu-jitsu again. Feels good, man. Feels good. Can't train for the rest of this week, but I don't want to get too deep into it. I'll rant about it for too long. We'll get off topic here if I allow it. We got 25 minutes though, guys. 25 minutes. Silver and metals, I think, are interesting right now. I think gold is really close to $5,000 an ounce, and I think silver is close to $100 an ounce, right? So I think they're both close to big milestone whole dollar numbers that everybody's watching for. And I think as we get closer to those, the likelihood that we at least test them or tap those levels gets higher and higher. You know, as I've always said, nothing is 100% though. Nothing's absolute. We could get really close and not hit those levels. But I think considering we're really close to all of those, I think there's a chance that we at least move up to test them. Now, I do think we need a catalyst of some sort to spark that type of move, especially with like silver and gold. I think we need some type of catalyst, but I think once we get something like that, the run could happen up to tap those levels, and so that's what I'm essentially waiting for right now. I'm in silver, I'm in gold as well, so. Yeah, I don't know. Silver's very close to $100 an ounce, but it's up. Silver's so extended right now, though. I mean, I don't know if it's going to correct, but a 4-hour chart on silver is freaking ridiculous. Like, look, here's a 4-hour chart on silver right now. Silver in May was at $32 an ounce. So silver's up hundreds of percent this year. Just in less than a year, silver's up hundreds of percent. And so I'm not saying it's not going to hold. Again, I think it wants to at least test 100, but you never freaking know. And again, I'm in it right now. And so I hope it goes up. I hope it tests 100. But it's up so much. So much. Gold, on the other hand, has had big... Like, gold's moves happen a little bit longer term. But gold is freaking ridiculous. Oh. But it's gold has had smaller percentage moves over the last year for gold. Silver's moves have been crazy. So we'll see if any of them correct. Again, I think a lot of it is also like macroeconomics, policies, geopolitics. A lot of that stuff has been influencing it lately. So we'll see what happens. I think long term these things are pretty. Again, not an investment professional, but long term gold, silver, generally pretty good investments. But short term, you don't know what's going to happen. And gold can also downtrend for an extended period of time as well. So can silver. So a lot of the time they can downtrend 5-10 years. And so it might go up over 30 years, but they might go down over a 10-year period and stay down for a while. And so it's not risk free. But you know, again, I'm not telling you what to do. Not an investment professional. Not liable if you lose. But generally speaking, DCAing is your friend in situations like this with assets long term. Short term, no idea what they're going to do. All right, guys, so the NASDAQ did finally break over 715s, and this is why I don't attack a retest of this level. Like, if we test something and then bounce back higher over a specific level and then immediately come back down and retest it again, I do not like this at all. Even if it goes back higher here, I just think the edge is much lower on the second test. I think the first test after you break over something and then pull back to something is the best likelihood of a bounce. And then if we retest it within 20-30 minute period, I don't like it as much. Oracle's still back over 180s though, so look at Oracle. Yeah, risk on has been here for the last few days. Just because, especially yesterday, a little bit more risk on sentiment. Jim Cramer just tweeted one word. Guys, he tweeted one word. That word is fear. And so I'm not telling you what to do. Not an investment professional, but maybe that's the biggest buy signal of the day here. Is Jim Cramer tweeting fear. I'm just joking. Don't copy me. All I'm going to say, though, is that prior to... when did he tweet that? Never mind. I have to go back and look. Yeah, Bitcoin's falling from the jobs report and the GDP data. Again, it just means less potential easing, less arguments for easing. Bro, my wife has it like the Arctic here in my household right now. We got the AC on. I don't know what it feels like outside. It's cold. All right, guys, we got the opening bell 20 minutes. NASDAQ pulling back. We're watching 700s. I wish the 200 exponential was a little higher. I might buy 700s right here. I'm pretty good at talking myself out of a trade, but I think that's better than talking yourself into one. Yeah, we don't need AC. We can just open the door. Yeah. Yeah. Supposed to hit, I think, Saturday. Yeah, we had people over again, bro. We've had people at my house nonstop, dude. My house is like a freaking hotel. Doesn't matter who they are, how like chill they are. After a while, it's just like, all right. Yeah, so Jim Cramer. One word. Fear. Is this bad? They left. All right, guys. Opening bell. Bullish or bearish for the opening bell? Let me know today. Let me do another poll here. We got like 70. We got thousands. I'll leave this poll up. It's all right. Bro, I'd tell Carol the same thing, you know. I guess I'm bullish. I don't know what we're going to get today. I think we've rebounded a lot. I think we could go bearish as well. All right, so the Ukraine president is criticizing Europe for not using frozen Russian assets. So that's some news coming out. Carol train? No, not really. No. All right, so apparently BlackRock's rider is surging in Fed chair betting, so he's now been climbing in predictions markets. He's now 32% likely. The front runner is Kevin Warsh. You know, I know they were on Hassett for a while. They might have moved past Hassett. I'm trying to figure out somebody that's going to remain dovish, I think, and not stray. Because, like, if you remember, the president is the one who appointed Jerome Powell. But now they're like, you know, they're just beefing right now. They're like the Bloods and Crips. There's problems. And so I think when they're picking this Fed chairman, they're going to try to pick somebody that's going to keep the status quo in terms of what they want. And so we're seeing odds move. Again, now it's Ryder, which is a BlackRock executive. Yeah, I mean, Hassett was the front runner for a while. So Hassett was the front runner for a while. Now it's Warsh. They're called the two Kevins, Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett. Also, Alphabet's Waymo has begun its robotaxi service apparently in Miami, according to Bloomberg. Yeah, I mean, he's still interviewing people. I think if it was Hassett, he would have stopped and just chilled. He was going to announce it, like a month ago? And then I think that's when he wanted it to be Hassett, and now that's kind of pivoted away from that. So he's still kind of interviewing people. Now Ryder is up there. All right, guys, 15 minutes. I'll put this up now. Change my name to Kevin. The Home Alone references would just be too much in my household for that. Like, my daughter came in our room yesterday, and I was saying, "Hey, I'm in here," but she hit me with "Mom, Dad, Uncle Frank," you know, and so I feel like if I changed my name to Kevin, it would just be way too many Home Alone references in my household. All right, bro. Yeah, I mean, the president's a business dude. He's gonna want another business dude in there probably. We'll see what happens. These odds are subject to change. Like, again, if we look at odds makers right now, like on Kalshi, for an example. Where is it? There's an interesting question right now on it. It's will the president try to fire Jerome Powell as Fed chairman or Fed governor? Right? Because again, like, Powell steps down from the chairman role, what is it, May of this year? But he might stay on as Fed governor. At least there's rumors circulating about that. So this one, before 2027, it's 28% likely that happens. There's a 7% chance he's out before May. In terms of will the Supreme Court rule in favor of the president's tariffs, on Kalshi it's at 35%, which is a little bit better than it was. And that's not nothing. Like, that doesn't mean we're definitely gonna get the tariffs reversed. And so there's a chance. There's a chance they stay. Yeah, I mean, look, even with a new Fed chairman, they saw the rest of the Fed members still get to vote. You know, one person, it makes some difference. It's not the end all be all of, it's not like as soon as Jerome Powell leaves, we're just going to have an ultra dovish Federal Reserve. It's just not like that, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever one you want. And again, I don't know if we're going to cut rates. I think the odds for rate cuts as of now, it's looking like what, June, I think, which is the first meeting we get after May. Right, it's June. I think that's the most probable time for a Fed rate cut. If we look at the Fed watch tool here, the next rate cut's probably coming in June, right? Here's June. March, still 84% likely for a pause in March. April is when we did get changes here. What's the current rate? We're at 3.5 to 3.74. Okay, so actually it's pivoted to April here, at least on the Fed watch tool, which means there's a 32% chance that we're going to cut rates 25 basis points by April. There's only a 14% chance that we still pausing in April. And there's a 1.2% chance we raise interest rates 25 basis points in April. So again, when the next rate decision outside of a pause is going to be is changed. It was June. Oh no, this is April of 2027. I'm dumb. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, still 72% likely of a pause. I'm dumb. June is when it pivots to a majority thinking we're going to get a 25 basis point cut by June. But it's still pretty split, is what I should say. Okay, I was confusing me. I accidentally clicked this April. And I saw all of these and I was like, man, they're really confused about April. Now that makes more sense. Okay. All right, guys, 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I'd cover some of this news, but it's mostly it's too political in nature, and I'm red $1,000 shorting Intel since New Year. Not sure how to deal with it right now. It's got earnings after the bell today, so it's a risky hold. You know, I don't know what it's gonna do for earnings. But Intel does have earnings after the closing bell today, and so you probably want to be a little careful there. I was gonna enter the UFC. Yeah, I mean, feed him CM Punk. Yeah, I'd watch. Nasdaq's at 725s, so we're starting to creep up there. I mean, we are green, but the range has been pretty light heading into PCE inflation data in 20 minutes here. So again, PCE inflation data 10 a.m. today. You think about gold when market opens? I have no idea what gold's going to do at market open. I think it's close to 5K. A lot of people have been talking about 5K. I remember when people were talking about $4,000 an ounce for gold, and now we're way over that. So I think 5,000 is that next big level that people are looking at, and maybe we'll test it today at the open. Maybe we won't. Just depends on what markets do. We'll have to wait and see. We have 8 minutes left until the opening bell, guys. 8 minutes. Again, I mean, pullbacks have been easy to buy today, to be honest. It doesn't mean that dynamic's going to continue, but it's been relatively easy to buy pullbacks at milestone levels. Like, these pullbacks have worked fairly well, but doesn't mean it's going to continue. Again, I love to use this quote from The Big Short, but Let me make sure I don't butcher it. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just isn't so. Not wrong. Not wrong. I think Gaethje's got a chance, but I think Pimblett will probably win. But I don't think it's an easy fight. Again, we're back at 715s. Again, Bitcoin's still breaking down. We're at 89,360. Michael Saylor says, thinking about buying more Bitcoin. Should he, guys? Let me know in chat. Yes or no. Should Saylor buy more Bitcoin? Bitcoin's still falling. 89,285s. Gold's been creeping up. Almost green on the day for gold. Here's silver. Yeah, we can put the SPY up here as well. SPY 690s. The day's been tapping that level over and over again, so. Markets are mostly up on the day. Because of which markets? I mean, I'm talking equities, indexes. Again, 6 minutes left. Yeah, I mean, here's MicroStrategy. It's had a tough time. He's just averaging into these, though. I don't know. There's always that quote, the time to buy is when blood's running in the streets. Who was it? Who said that quote? Encyclopedia chat. Who said that quote? Time to buy when blood is running in the streets. Was it Rockefeller? I don't remember. Okay, Jim Cramer just tweeted something else again. Again, it was 2 words this time. It says, quote, CEO fear, end quote. Jim Cramer. It was Buffett? Okay. I thought Buffett was better to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Rothschild. Baron Rothschild. The actual quote, the fuller, more impactful version is, buy when there's blood in the streets, even if the blood is your own. Basically, average down. That's what he's telling you to do. Again, this was in... This was in the 18th and 19th. All right, guys, 3 minutes until the opening bell, chat. 3 minutes. Again, remember, I am not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. Don't copy me. I appreciate the support. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We cover all the stuff live as soon as it happens, so you're welcome. We don't sell a course, don't sell a service. That's 715 level, man. Look at this. Right back up to these levels. I'm watching 750 right here. But Nasdaq's looking a little strong this morning, heading into the opening bell. Risk on sentiment might be back. We got 2.5 minutes into the bell. So. Again, inflation data 10 a.m. Inflation data again. 32 minutes from now. Opening bell is here. See if we get anything good. Yeah, y'all, good luck today at the opening bell. Let's see if we get anything good. Honestly, I see some tech stocks pulling back right now, though. I see Oracle dipping, Alphabet dipping. Most of them are very green on the day, though, but they are dipping down quite fast right now. I'm not sure why. Maybe the market on open, actually, now that I think about it, could be causing these to drop. So. Next week is Tesla earnings. Next Wednesday, we have Tesla earnings, Meta earnings, Microsoft earnings, all same day, same time. And the Federal Reserve interest rate decision. So, less than a minute, guys. Wednesday next week will be interesting. Yeah, the Bank of Japan interest rate decision is going to be, yeah, it's like much later, but yeah, it's today. Are they expecting a pause? At like 10 o'clock tonight. All right, guys, here we go. Here's the opening bell. Hit the live button next to the play button if it's delayed. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up. All right, there's the market open. Here we get. Again, PCE inflation data 10 a.m. today, guys. Look at this drop at the opening bell. So far, opening bell is red. It doesn't mean anything yet, but we have had a red open so far. Look at this drop. A low retracement here after dipping under the 200 exponential at the opening bell. We're at 860s right now. Oracle's dipping. Nvidia's dipping. Alphabet's dipping. Nvidia's spiking, though. Look at Nvidia. The 186 right now, so if we get chopped, we do have PCE inflation data today, and so there's a chance that we get like more choppy action than normal leading into this data release. So again, PCE inflation, guys, is in 28 minutes. It's 2 months, October and November data. So we're at 7s. Waiting to see if there's downward pressure. Nvidia's kind of turning back down here. Silver's spiking at the open a little bit. Not, I wouldn't say a spike, but silver's up at the opening bell. Cracked lows for a second. All right, we just cracked lows again. Look at this drop happening on the NASDAQ here. Silver's up to $94 an ounce. Alphabet's rebounding back a little bit here, though. I'm going to buy this. a risky buy, but it's small so far, and I might add to it. The reason I'm going to buy it is because we have PC inflation data. I'm assuming the market could behave choppy leading into PC inflation data. There we go. Take half of that off. There we go. I'm gonna take another piece of that off. I'm gonna cut it right there. A little early. It's 3 minutes into the day. I don't usually trade that, but I mean, I'm up a couple $100 on the day, really, right? Or approximately a couple hundred. That's good. Bold move, John. Yeah, you know, I'm top 3 most bold person ever right now. Yeah. I mean, I think it's reasonable to assume chop ahead of PC inflation, but it's definitely not it's definitely not a certainty. Silver now over 94s. We're also up extensively on the day, and so it's very possible we fill the gap too. I think you could argue both things pretty reasonably. But all right, guys, remember PC inflation data drops live at 10 o'clock today. Is the S&P going up? Where's it at? Yeah, so S&P is. I mean, he has been much more flat, I would say, on the day than the NASDAQ too. At least over the last few hours. Again, PCE inflation. I want to buy this again. I almost do. Again, remember, PC inflation report is expected at 0.2% today for both core and headline PCE for both October and November data today. We're getting 2 separate reports, 8:30 Eastern time today. Here's 650s. I'm going to buy this real quick. One contract, though. We're going to keep it really small. Oh, I don't love to see it. Luckily, it's just one micro contract, so. Got a cushion on the day. I could probably add to this. I'm gonna get out right there, basically flat. Could have held. The alphabet's back up, trying to almost go green on the day here, but. Buy this dip now. We're going to take some risk here. We got a big cushion on the day, so there's a day to take risk, I think. But pop up higher here. Go. Unload some of that risk here. Sit on some of this, see if we pop back up. Yeah, we got PC inflation, what, 23 minutes or so? Go. I cut it right there. Again, the only reason I'm doing this today, the way I'm trading, is because of the inflation report coming out in 23 minutes. I think we've dropped a lot. Maybe you could argue chop, but again, I'm out already. I'm just taking advantage of the easy momentum up and down. And we were really nicely green on that trade, actually. Met is up, but it's pulling back a little bit now as well. Again, don't copy me. I'm not an investment professional. Definitely not today. I'm watching the market for the rest of the day. Hey, we got PC inflation going live again. 10 a.m. Eastern time today, guys. Get PCE report. $10 a.m. Eastern time today, guys. I see some people that said the PCE inflation report is out. It's not. There's the rebound back up. Here's 680. You can see this level reject. Again, the S&P starting to fight its way back up. Silver over $94 an ounce here as well. Bitcoin bouncing a little bit as well. Meta is doing pretty good today. I'm in Meta also. Yeah, we're in Meta. Let's see if we climb. A lot of stuff starting to fight back here. Again, PCE inflation report in 20 minutes, guys. 20 minutes for PCE inflation. Let's see what this looks like. Again, PCE inflation 10 minutes or 22 minutes. Watching the 200 exponential and 700 level right here. If there is a level we could reject at 680, but I'm looking at this level more. There we go. Look at that level. I made a little bit on my other account just now shorting this level right here. When you're right, you're right. Look at that retracement exactly at that level that we just drew. Again, 200 exponential, big whole dollar number here, guys. Look at that. As it happens. All right, guys, here we go. PCE inflation data, 20 minutes. 20 minutes for 2 different months here. S&P still pushing up here. So we got our short. We're out of that short now, and maybe it pushes back above it. But we got that big retracement. We retraced all the way down from 95 to really about 70. And we just rejected again off of it. You know what's down a lot today is Netflix. Netflix is down pretty decently. All right, guys. PC inflation report. 19 minutes. Still rejecting here. It looks like a downward trend, but again, I'm hesitant to attack a downward trend too long just because of the inflation report we're getting today. Could cause sideways chop. So we already made our money. We're up over a few $100s. All right, guys. PC inflation report. Massive. 10 a.m. There's 650 right here. S&P pulling back as well. Silver stagnating here. Bitcoin's pulling back a little bit as well now. Still looking for news coming out. But again, PCE inflation report, 10 a.m. today. It's released by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Again, they're giving us October data, but I think they said they're using CPI inflation data, if I remember correctly, regarding the BEA here. If we look at this year's news schedule, I think they're using, whoa, look at this drop. Whoa. Mark it back down. All right, so Zelensky said that the Ukraine, U.S., and Russia officials will meet in the UAE on Friday through Saturday, apparently. So crude futures are seeing downsides to that as well. I don't know why this big drop is happening here. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we're going to get the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Look, here's the PCE inflation report. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Weird candle that we just retraced all the way back up from. But again, 15 minutes here, guys. 15 minutes. Again, the PCE inflation report is set to release October and November. Both of them, I'm pretty sure, expected at 0.2%. Like, yeah, 0.2% for core PCE month over month is what I'm showing. It was 0.2% last time as well for November. Core year over year expected at 2.8%. I'm pretty sure this is what's expected for both October and November. Again, we did have jobless claims unemployment show up earlier, 200,000 versus 209, 212 expected. They also revised the last one down slightly, or maybe they revised it up slightly. Yeah, I think maybe up. It was 198. They revised it down to 199, or revised it up to 199. GDP also showed 4.4%. Previously, it was 3.8%, and they expected 4.3%. So 4.4 versus 4.3% expected, and 3.8% last time for quarter three. GDP data. But yeah, I think the bigger report's PCE inflation. We got some movement from GDP and jobless claims, but the bigger one is going to be PCE data going live. So I don't know. I wouldn't say a pullback in the data. I would say that's if you think the inflation data is going to be hot. I don't know. I think it's more reasonable to assume chop, but none of it has to happen. Like, we could run big, we could drop big leading into this data releases. And so it doesn't mean anything necessarily, but it's just what's the most probable outcome. Chop a lot of the time is for me, but you know, each individual release can be different. So all right, here we go, guys. Pretty critical PCE inflation. Yeah, it's a pretty big report, not small. Multiple releases. All right, NASDAQ down. Let's watch 600s. Again, we got 13 minutes, guys. Make sure you hit the live button next to the play button to catch up. Put it in 2x speed, and if you put it in 2x speed and hit the live button, you shouldn't get delayed ever. Again, Japan exports to the United States fall as the tariffs hit autos, apparently. Japanese exports to the United States fell 4.1% last year, which is the first decline in 5 years, driven by tariffs and automobiles. Vehicle shipments dropped 11.4%, and auto parts fell 10.7%, apparently. Imports from the United States rose 1.6%. It shrank Japan's trade surplus with the U.S. by 12.6%. According to CNBC, GM is also going to move production of the China-built Buick SUV to the United States plant. Hey, thank you for the donation. Appreciate the love. Thanks so much. I don't know how much that actually is, and for whatever reason, it's not letting me copy it to see. But thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it. Oh, here it is. Okay, I copied it. But yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. That's about $2. But I appreciate the donation. Thanks so much, man. Market's still breaking down. So bears were right. Again, market's still breaking down. Bears were right so far. Appreciate the love. NASDAQ still falling down here ahead of the PCE inflation report. Also, we have Warner Bros. Saying that Paramount Skydance continues to make the same offer, and their board repeatedly unanimously rejected in favor of superior merger with Netflix. Warner Bros. Is confident in its ability to achieve regulatory approval. Also, clear its shareholders agree, with more than 93% also rejecting the inferior scheme, according to. Okay, so apparently I'm muted. I don't know how long my mic is muted. What I was saying is BlackRock Sphinx says there's no AI bubble. He says there's no bubble in AI, citing massive investment required for technology. He said, quote, I sincerely believe there's no AI bubble. He told Bloomberg at the World Economic Forum in Davos. He noted that hundreds of billions spent on AI would drive global growth despite inevitable big failures. On markets, he said some investors diversified away from U.S. assets last year, but he doubts major shifts will continue given the U.S. economic growth. Again, that's BlackRock CEO. And the chat seems to really wake up. I should mute myself more because the chat wakes up when I'm muted. 9 minutes, guys. 9 minutes. Again, higher or lower inflation data today? I'm going to end this poll. Does today's PCE inflation go up higher or lower than the 0.2% month over month expected? Higher or lower? Vote on the poll. Poll is now live. On music. We'll get some hyped up music ready for this. Again, PCE inflation data live in 8 minutes, guys. 8.5 minutes. $10 a.m. today. 10 a.m. today in about 8 minutes, guys. We got a timer and green letters over there. Over there. Timer and green letters. ADP report was Tuesday. It came in at what, 8,000 jobs averages per week is what it showed up. 8,000 or so. No change. We did this poll so far. 54% think higher than expected for PCE inflation. 46% think lower than expected for inflation data today. Again, today we're supposed to have October and November data here. October and November PCE inflation. Let's see what we get. What is this up here? Fed rates. Yeah, so apparently this is what I'm showing as the expected numbers. For October, it's expected, or we don't really have an October expectation number here. We have 0.2% expected for November. We don't really have an October one. Previously for October, the data was 0.2%. Yeah, and both for, so core and headline PCE for November is expected at 2.8%. So 0.2% on the month and 2.8% on the year is what's expected for both headline and core PCE inflation data today in about 7 minutes. So they're both expected right around the same numbers. October data, I think they said they're using CPI data to help merge some of the missing aspects of it. And so we'll see what this looks like today. But again, 2.8% on the year expected for both headline and core inflation, PCE inflation. 0.2% on the month is expected for both as well. Again, so far 51% think higher, 49% think lower. Interesting what's split. All right, guys, 7 minutes. Again, pretty critical PCE inflation report. We got GDP and PCE both today. Jim Cramer's been speaking a little bit. NASDAQ 100 up 2% now. 3% away from record highs, but it's down at the opening bell today. Silver is doing really well at the open, though. We're at 94 plus an ounce for silver futures. Crude is also rebounding back up heading into the report today. Yeah, so far we're bouncing up a little bit. It still looks like a weak trend, though. I mean, look, if you look at a trend in this context, like it still looks like we're red trending here at the opening bell. Again, maybe PCE data can completely correct this or exacerbate the downward pressure. We'll see. We got about 5 minutes left for this data release. About 5 minutes left, guys. Yeah, it's a big day. Again, both expected around the same number for both headline and core inflation today. News is light. We had GDP show up stronger than expected. We had jobless claims show up better than expected for jobs today as well. The stronger GDP, stronger job numbers this morning earlier at 8:30. And now we're heading into the bigger release of the day, which is PCE inflation. The NASDAQ's starting to turn down here, though. In one big bold candle. A lot of stuff still up on the day, even with this downward pressure, though, just because we were up so much overnight. But again, we got about 4 minutes left. Yeah, 4 minutes. Yeah, I really don't know what PCE inflation is going to give us. Genuinely don't know. All right, here we go. Heading into the top of the hour here. Again, it looks like Warner Bros. Discovery does not want Paramount. They've been saying this for a month now, basically. All right, here we go. About 3.5 minutes left, guys. 3.5 minutes. Stocks are still breaking down heading into the PCE report. Here's the S&P 500 right here. I'll put the SPY up. NASDAQ on the left. Silver on the right. Last minute predictions. Bull or bear? High or low inflation? Big market movement or no? Let me know in chat right now. NASDAQ's falling. SPY's falling. Get 2.5 minutes. Honestly, the poll is completely split 50-50 here. Completely 50-50 split. On higher and lower inflation. It really kind of shows how split the chat is. Like today it was like 70-30 for bulls when we did the poll for bulls. Most people were bullish. Pretty split down the middle here. All right, guys, 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning here. 2 minutes into the inflation report. Means we're in a good place economically if the poll is split. Yeah, maybe. All right, guys, 570s here on the NASDAQ. Still breaking down ahead of this report in about 1.5 minutes, guys. 1.5 minutes. %51 higher. The poll 49%. Think lower. Here we go, guys. We got 12 minutes again, or 1 minute and 10 seconds or so. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Catch up to the stream. We'll see what we get today after the closing bell. We have 1 minute until PCE inflation drops. The 1 minute warning here. We got the SPY at 687s. This timer's a little bit early. Okay, so this timer's a little bit early. Again, data's supposed to come out in about 50 seconds here, guys. 50 seconds. 1 minute warning for PCE inflation data today. 45 seconds. Again, hit the live button. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up to the stream. But hit the live button right now so you'll be on time. And let's see what we get. Again, most expected at 0.2% on the month for core and headline, and 2.8% on the year for core and headline inflation. So here we go. Again, 0.2% on the month, 2.8% on the year. We got about 20 seconds left. 20 seconds. Let's see what we get today. And here we go. 10 seconds. See what it pops up as. And here's the report right now in 5 seconds. And it's right here. All right, waiting for it to release. Nothing yet. Still no movement here. I don't know if it's out. Okay, guys, we got PCE inflation. Personal income 0.3% versus 0.4% on the month. And again, we showed up for PCE inflation. Dollar PCE 0.2% for both October and November. 2.7% in October, 2.8% in November. And so again, we showed up at 0.2% for both October and November, and 2.8% in November, 2.7% in October here. So mostly flat, a little bit lower than expected. Nothing was higher than expected here for PCE inflation. Again, mostly flat. 2.8% on the month for core, 0.2% on the month for headline core, 0.2% on the month for headline, 2.8% on the year for headline. I'm sorry, core for October showed 2.7% versus 2.8%. But yeah, again, 2.8%, 0.2%, mostly flat data release here. So this was mostly flat. It was mostly as expected here. And again, we can read this, but it was mostly flat. It was mostly as expected. We look at this here. So the market's not really moving because this was basically neutral. I had to scroll all the way down to find it, but yeah, 0.2% on October and November, 0.2% in both months for October and November for core as well. For the year, 2.7% in October, 2.8% in November, core 2.7, 2.8%. So flat data. It's flat data. So again, 0.2% on the month, 2.8% in November. And so yeah, basically October showed 2.7, November showed 2.8, and then everything else, and this is for regular PCE inflation. So flat data today, guys. Nothing really market moving. NASDAQ still falling down. I don't think it's going to save the market at all. And again, it's basically flat. Personal income was slightly lower for November at 0.3 versus 0.4. Personal spending was as expected at 0.5, a little bit higher than last time, but as expected. So a little bit of a anticlimactic here. Not really the biggest release. No, NASDAQ and the SPY are still tumbling down if we look at this though here. So the NQ, the SPY are still down pretty drastically since the opening bell. Flat inflation, I would generally say is good. I'm curious to see what yields are doing right now. I mean, I think 2.7, 2.8% considering the landscape of markets over the last few months is okay. Again, here are yields right now. They are up a little bit from this report, but not much. Yields are basically unchanged as well here, guys. So, again, yields are essentially unchanged. Not a lot going on there either. And yeah. Again, 2.7%, 2.7% for October for headline and core inflation, 2.8% for November, year over year for headline and core inflation, both 0.2% on the month for headline and core for both October and November. So all the data was pretty much flat here. It did nothing. Yeah, well, it was neutral. It wasn't. Like the way this works is if inflation shows up higher or lower than expected, you know, we're going to have bigger moves the more higher or lower than expected it is. If the data shows up exactly as expected for 2 different months, I mean, it's not unreasonable to expect a lack of movement here from that, you know. So even though it was delayed data, it was flat delayed data as well. So, yeah. Yields and interest rates follow each other. It's one of the reasons, like, we've had a lot of rumors about other countries and a lot of worries about other countries selling off their bonds. Bond prices and bond yields inverse each other. And so when people sell off bonds, the price of the underlying bonds drop. And what do yields and in turn interest rates tend to do is they increase when bonds get sold off. Right. And so essentially other countries threatening to sell off their U.S. assets, their U.S. bonds, might cause bond prices to fall and inversely interest rates and yields to increase. All right. And so the reason I check yields is because it'll show me, number one, it'll show me where what the bond market's looking like. Number two, it'll show me where potentially interest rate sentiment is going. That's why I look at yields every day, is because it shows you where interest rate sentiment is potentially going. If yields are spiking, that means we got a higher interest rate sentiment, essentially like less cuts. If yields are plummeting, then that means, generally speaking, we have like weak labor data or something like that to justify earlier cuts, like lower interest rate sentiment. And so that's why yields are relevant and important. But again, interest rates and yields follow each other, correlate. Bond prices and yields inverse each other. And so if yields go up, bond prices go down and vice versa. And so once you understand those correlations, it becomes easier to track the sentiment around all of those things. Like, where's interest rate sentiment? Where's bond sentiment? You know, so forth and so on. Bank of Japan has a rate decision. What I'm saying is the NASDAQ is not flat. The reaction to the PCE inflation report was flat. All right, so the NASDAQ's not flat. The reaction to PCE inflation was flat because it was as expected. It was neutral. For 2 different months, it was completely as expected and neutral. So just underwhelming reaction. The NASDAQ has had a pop up and down here. So the NASDAQ is dumping right now. But with that said, even with the NASDAQ dumping, it's still net green on the day. At least as of now, it's net green on the day still. At least it's close to it now. Yeah, NASDAQ's still net green on the day. And so we have had a volatile few days. We've gone up big earlier in this morning and overnight, and now we're back down at the opening bell today. So the day before, we were red as well. So we went down and then up big and then down big. And so it's kind of up and down. It's sideways with a big range over the last week, really, is what it is. And the NASDAQ's still falling pretty crazy here, looking red. So we'll see. Bank of Japan interest rate decisions, what, at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night tonight? That's relevant. That's important. We'll see what happens there. I think gold is pulling back after running up big. Probably. I might withdraw a little bit of money too, I can take a payout from some of these accounts now. I'm curious to see if we start to bounce back a little bit here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the market does. I wanted to stream this PCE inflation report, guys, but I'm probably just going to cut out of here. I'm already up hundreds of dollars on the day. I don't really want to give it back. And it's getting kind of late in the day here. So, again, tomorrow, let's see what we got tomorrow. Appreciate all the subs today. Got a bunch of subs. Cool. Create tomorrow's stream. Honestly, the market's just flat right now. It's just not doing anything. Bull or bear right now, guys. Bull or bear. I'm going to cut out of here, guys. I appreciate the love. Thanks so much for choosing to hang out with me today. And yeah, I'll send you to tomorrow's stream. Will the wild swings continue tomorrow? I don't know, man. Markets have been interesting. All right. NASDAQ is not doing anything right now, too. But yeah, I'm going to close this stream down. Hey, listen, all love to you guys. I appreciate the love. Again, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And yeah, y'all have a great day. I'm going to get out of here. We'll see what happens. Let me know, bull or bear. Again, as soon as I close this stream, it's going to bring you to tomorrow's stream. Yeah, I'll see you guys over there. See if these wild swings continue tomorrow. Yeah, appreciate the love. Remember, not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. Make your own assessment. Trade smart. Bear, 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 bear. Look, the bears are out. Honestly, I'd be a bear too right now. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Have a great day.